Hi, this is Rhonda. Today's short lecture is about drawing inferences. When we infer something, we bring into play our outside knowledge, the cultural context of a message, previous information we might have, about the society we live in, academic information we might have, whatever we hold within our brains can be brought to bear on any given message and help us to draw inferences about it. If we don't have the necessary knowledge, we'll sometimes miss things that are being implied in the message and we'll fail to draw those inferences. One of the really good ways to practice that is with editorial cartoons. And the reason why is because editorial cartoons want to convey a message. They do it with brief text and images, and often they're commenting on social conditions. And so in order to really understand an editorial cartoon, you have to understand the social context of the message. Without being able to do that, you can't draw the necessary inferences and you can't actually understand the cartoon. So we're going to start with one that's pretty easy for anybody who is an Arizona resident or who was living here during the summer of 2013. During that summer, Steve Benson did several cartoons for the Arizona Republic that focused on the wildfire that was burning up in the northern part of Arizona, around the area of Yarnell, Arizona. And the reason why he focused on that so much was because tragically there were 19 men who lost their lives in that fire. It was the greatest number of men who had, or women for that matter, who had lost their lives fighting a wildfire, fighting any kind of fire. In fact, for a very long time, and the largest single number of first responders who had gone down at a single time since September 11th, 2001. So it was a very profound and sombering event. And one of the things Benson did is he did several cartoons that were in honor of those men, but he also brought in some social criticism. And so here, the tombstone, obviously representing those dead firefighters and their lives lost, the flag in front of it, we can infer that Benson believes that they were patriots, that to be a first responder is a patriotic duty, not just a job. And so that flag there gives that message across. The posture of the person standing here, the slumped shoulders, the lowered head, we can see that this person is someone who is mourning, who is grieving this loss, like many people in Arizona did, and people across the nation. And the question is a crucial one. Was there something that we could have done? Something that could have changed the fate of those people? And here comes the social criticism. Because the first panel, this is all pretty much common social response to this. But Benson's reply to the question has to do with his position on the idea of global climate change. And so he represents the planet as a fiery ball. His argument there then is that increase in Western fires is something that is due to climate change. And that's something that people need to face, they need to accept, and I think with his use of the word, certainly that's meant to be sarcastic or ironic. He wants us to consider, can we do something to at least halt the climate change, to slow it down, to do something about the increasing drought, the increasing flooding in other areas, conditions that lead to tragedy such as this one. Okay, so that's the whole social context, and that's how we understand um, his cartoon. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So let's clear this off. The next one also coming from events from the summer of 2013. This one by Joe Heller, and Heller works for a newspaper up in Wisconsin in Green Bay, and he is commenting on the Paula Deen situation. So Paula Deen, what happened with Paula Deen late spring and summer of 2013? Information came out that Paula Deen had been some people argue the term they use is racially insensitive. Other people come straight out and just use the term racist, with language that she had used, with behavior that she had exhibited towards certain of her employees, things that she had said, etc. And Paula Deen, if you don't know about Paula Deen, you miss the whole context of the cartoon. You miss the whole thing. Paula Deen for a long time had a show on the Food Network, and she cooked with lots of butter. She always wanted to put more butter in everything, make it more delicious and fattening. And here we have cream too. The last person on the planet whose recipes you'd want to follow to be healthy. And so here we have this woman with her Paula Deen cookbook with all the little page tabs in it, and her family, which is on the chubby side. Even the dog is kind of chubby, and her question, if we still use the recipes, does that make us bigots? In other words, there was a big uproar about this whole thing, and the idea of if she's a racist, does this make her less of a cook? And Joe Heller's response seems to be that, well, it has nothing to do with her cooking, really. However, the problem with Paula Deen's cooking is you follow those recipes. Here's the guy eating the cookie, by the way. You follow those recipes, and your biggest concern needs to be about being big, about what it's going to do to your health and to your weight, not what it's going to do to your position regarding race in America. And so that's kind of the social context of this one and what's going on there. Okay, actually, let's just leave this stuff up because we've got room down here. Okay, so the last one's political. Again, big thing that happened summer of 2013. I'm going to change pen color here. We have House of Representatives is controlled by Republicans, so the Republicans have a majority there. So that's why we have a GOP Congress listed here. And one of the issues in the summer of 2013 has had to do with the national budget, or the lack thereof, and the lack of agreement on that budget. And so a lot of the struggle has been with what things to spend money on given the current economy and what things to cut. And one of the things that the House of Representatives wants to cut is food stamps. And one of the Republican congressmen made a comment that was pretty broadly distributed, that cutting food stamps would be good for people in poverty anyway, because a lot of them are overweight. And so that's the whole social context behind this whole thing. But then we pull in some other things that are really interesting. This one's a little more detailed and rich than the other ones. And we have this idea, let them eat cake. You might remember that one was originally attributed to Marie Antoinette. And she was the French monarch during the French Revolution, and of course she ended up getting guillotined. She ended up with her head chopped off for such an attitude. And going down in history, Marie Antoinette's been seen as not necessarily meaning to be vicious or insensitive. She was just stupid about the conditions that the people in poverty lived in. She was so isolated from it, so protected from it. And that's the argument, that we have this Congress here that has no idea what it means to be a working class person in this country who is struggling to make it at a time when a lot of people are unemployed and underemployed. And so we have this other guy pulling in the idea, the not very much, this idea about well, people in poverty, they're overweight anyway. So, and I don't know if you can see this, but it says little bitty bites, no frosting. So we're not going to, we don't want to give them very much at all. And we don't want them to have anything that would be a luxury. And after all, this is all for their own good. Very detailed, very, very rich context in this one. And this one, really pulling in lots of social context here. The thing I didn't mention about this particular cartoon, I should give you the actual cartoonist, and it's Mark Murphy. And Mark Murphy is a well-known cartoonist that works for the Louisville, Kentucky Courier-Journal, and so this is his comment in response to what Congress was doing. So I hope this little lecture has helped you to see how you would pull social context into a message and use that to draw inferences, and then we'll go on to applying that to text with our assignment for annotating an editorial. Just let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.